This episode of the Golf Guru Show is brought to you by InVeedHemp.com. As golfers, you know the game creates wear and tear on your body and mind. InVeed CBD products can organically rejuvenate you. They come in 3 varieties: Relief, Clarity, and Relax. Relief CBD products help relieve pain. Clarity allows you to focus on those critical shots. And Relax CBD products are for those anxious golf moments. Right now, I've got an incredible special for you. Go to InVeedHemp.com and use the promo code GURU20 for a 20% discount for life.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. But like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1, no touching of the hair or face.
Of course.
And that's it! Now let's do this!
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Golf Guru Show. I'm your host, Jason Sutton, and I'm the Guru. I hope everyone out there is staying safe in these difficult times with the COVID-19 pandemic. So in the spirit of understanding that most of you, just like me now, are in lockdown mode, I am doing my best to provide you with more educational opportunities and some content that you can learn from in your downtime. And this one is a great one. This is my first live podcast as I was joined by my good friend, Dr. Bhrett McCabe, which in my opinion is the best sports psychologist and performance coach in the business today. Dr. McCabe, for those of you that don't know, if you don't know, you've probably been living under a rock, but I'll give you a little background. He works with multiple PGA, LPGA, mini tour players, and college players, and is also the sports and performance psychologist for the University of Alabama. He is one of the best motivational speakers that I've ever listened to, as I never miss a chance to hear him speak, which is how we met years ago at the PGA show, and someone that I can always count on to answer my questions when I have the opportunity to spend time with him. This guy has made me and so many other golf instructors stronger and better coaches over the years and continues to share his knowledge to the world. Please go to themindside.com, his website, to check out his information, and I highly recommend his book, The Mindside Manifesto. Also, coaches out there, go to thecatalyst.school.com as he starts to unveil some great content and his master class for coaching that you don't want to miss. So this is a little different format. As you can tell, we are fielding questions from the live feed as well as the ones that I have prepared. So I hope you enjoy this awesome Q&A live Instagram coronavirus conversation with my good friend, Dr. Bhrett McCabe. Enjoy. All right, cool. So, thanks for agreeing to join me here, Doc. This is really a good opportunity, in the midst of all of this chaos that we're experiencing with the COVID-19 and the lockdown and the whole deal. So this is my 3rd day in official lockdown. We just closed a couple of days ago, and so looking forward to sharing some content with the people out there. And it's been really cool to see, all my colleagues and friends in the teaching business that are sharing so much content out there, which is amazing. So we need you, Doc. We need some positive vibes, and just love to get your take on what's going on and really how you're instructing your clients, because all your guys are on hold right now. So it's kind of a 2-part question, but what are you encouraging your clients to do in this downtime? And then I've got a lot of questions that people have sent me, and then also we'll field some other stuff. So I'll let you kind of kick it off with that question first.
And just to kind of give people an understanding here, as we got started, they decided to start jackhammering outside my office. So it's just fitting for today. Okay, so y'all just have to deal with it. Sorry. They haven't been working up until literally 9 minutes ago. So, okay, but we're just going to roll with it. Look, we're in unprecedented times. No question. We've never seen anything like this before. And I don't really think that there's any example that we can pull on. 9/11 maybe, but that was different. That was a week or two of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear, but a lot of our natural comforts were still in place. We could still go visit our families. We could still go do things. We're separating, and we're breaking the human spirit from a sense of social distancing. I've said for years, if you want to break the will of the human spirit, the easiest way to do it is to create social isolation. That's what we're doing right now. Now, we're using this time to create new ways to stay socially connected, but we're still isolated. And I think the problem with this is we got to break this into two phases. We got to break this in the first phase, which is the endurance. We've got to endure this storm that we're in right now. And whether we think it's as serious as the flu or worse than the flu, or we think it's something that we can all it doesn't really matter. For us to get caught up and get fired up on social media with regards to political discussions is a complete time sucker, and it is a complete trap. It's like going for a tucked pin. It's only going to piss you off more. Don't do it, okay? So that's for people bigger than us, and I'll be honest with you. I don't know how many, and I don't need somebody to tweet me, text me. I'm not asking for this. I don't really think from a public health standpoint there was much other stuff they can do when pandemics start running wild. And I know I'm going to get people to say, so-and-so did this. So I'm not asking for that. And I'm not going to read it if you send it to me. What I'm saying is we have a virus that is attacking people that loves highly dense areas with people who are medically ill. And it is spreading at an exponential rate. Is it going to turn? Yes, it'll turn. Are we going to come up with a vaccine or a treatment for it? Yes. You got the smartest, wisest people in the world working at multiple world sites that are working on a solution. They will crack this code eventually. It may not heal it, but it'll ease suffering and it'll keep people off ventilators. So I think the endurance right now, and just for me as a small business, the same fears that I have are yours. I'm not on salary with anybody. I'm a contractor with every single person I work with. And so there are people there who I work with, who I love to death, who aren't going to be able to afford my services. My PGA Tour clients, I'm pretty much, I get paid as we go along. And they're amazing teammates, but they're not out there getting paid, so I'm not getting paid. And I'm not asking to get paid from them, so that's not what I'm saying. But it is a change. My work with the university kids are all over the country. I'm doing work on webinars with universities. So the endurance phase right now is scary. And I know that everybody out there is fearful. I told my wife the other night, I said, I wish I was back in my old pharmaceutical job for this one section because I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd be on a few teleconferences and I'd be binging the hell out of Netflix. Yeah. But running my own business, I'm not doing that. I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm trying to figure out solutions that we can have. I also feel like as a psychologist who's a specialist in behavioral medicine and health psychology, the interplay between the medical and the psychological, this is what I trained for. Sports is fun. I love working with athletes, coaches, and leaders. And that's why we're starting a new platform, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Sure. Which will come out in down the road a little bit. But is that this is my jam. This is what I do. And hey, Chuck, hope you're well. And I think that it's a time for us to figure out how do we endure this psychologically. There's a couple risk factors of the endurance, and then I'm going to get to the second phase, which is the emergence. The endurance right now is that we got to stay connected. We got to do the things that suck. Okay, the things that suck is we got to socially distance ourselves. I'm going to go play golf tomorrow, but I'm going to walk. We're going to be 6 feet apart, but I'm going to get outside because I know for me, the more isolated I am, the worse. I have used my chip and green in my office more in the last 2 weeks because I'm the only one in my 6,000 square foot office. I come up here and I work and I get away. So I go over there and I hit balls and chip and putt. I've done that more than I did any other time. So the endurance is also looking, let's weed the gardens a little bit. I think it's a great time for us to declutter our lives and get back to what's important. The second phase, Jason, is the second phase of that is that we've got to be prepared for the emergence. And when we come back, are we following through on the things that we said we were going to do? And are we creating the right healthy habits that are going to heal this country, this world of what we're doing? This is a time we should be connecting with our family members. I just got off the phone with my mom, who's 72, but looks like she's 50. Beautiful woman, unbelievable soul. She and my stepdad, my stepfather's having some medical issues. I can't go down and see him. It saddens me. And I know there's other cases. I'm seeing friends of mine who are having kids and their husbands are Skyping in. I think we have to understand that as much as this freaking sucks, we will endure this and we are going to emerge better. But I think the lesson on this is let's get back to let's cut all the bullshit in our lives and let's get back to our core purpose. And our core purpose is taking care of ourselves, making our families better, and making the world a better place. We get back to those things, we're all good at that point.
Yeah, it's like I've told everybody that I've talked to, it's like we've got to find how to turn a positive out of this, right? We got to figure out how do we get through adversity and turn positives in building new skills, like you said, or just, again, encouraging other people, which I think is what we're seeing, which is, I think it's going to be amazing when we do come out of this. The emergence is going to be really, really good. Now, going through it there's a lot of uncertainty. So like what's your message to people out there that are dealing with that and can't find something positive?
Well, we can always find positive, and it brings me back to the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And this is a great time for all of us to read it. Now, please understand, I am not equating COVID-19 to the atrocities of Auschwitz and Nazi Germany in the concentration camps. By no means am I equating those. However, Viktor Frankl recognized when he was in Auschwitz that there were certain prisoners that were physically okay but mentally died. They gave up. And can you blame them? I mean, when you're being treated like a subhuman by complete assholes in this world, you will break some humans, okay? The ones that broke couldn't find the purpose in their suffering. Viktor Frankl recognized that the people who were trying to find the purpose for their suffering, that had an application further in life, could be successful. For Viktor, as a psychiatrist in that Auschwitz, he looked at it as a way to study human suffering and the limits that humans could be pushed to so he could train. He practiced giving lectures to his medical students when he exited. And he went on to an illustrious career, and to me is a tremendous guide for us right now, is that we are in suffering. And I think we have to be very careful to look at the trauma without looking at the triumph that we can find. We can find what helps us get through this. It's going to be unprecedented. It's probably something, it's not the same as getting up and down from a short-sided bunker. This is big. This is pulling together. This is eating bacon sandwiches when you want to go eat sushi. This is, cleaning your stuff and stuff like that. I mean, these are the things that we have to do.
So let's transition a little bit into golf, because I know that there's a lot of coaches that are going to be joining us and players. So what are you having your clients do in this off time? What's the talk and what's the language sound like? And then is there some kind of roadmap for the players out there that really don't have anything to prepare for right now and are just trying to figure out what they should be doing?
So obviously that's the big issue, right? Is what am I preparing for? And a lot of athletes rely on that to get better. I know I have for a long time. It's why I hate to exercise, because I don't know what I'm exercising for. Getting in a thinner pair of jeans doesn't do it for me. But I think what I've done is I've taken this time and I've said, look, each of us need to rest. We need to reinvest in our game. And then we need to reconnect to why we play the game. Okay. So while we're practicing right now and you're just hitting balls, it's a wonderful time to work on something. So what I did is I put together a worksheet that people could go through. And the worksheet is something that really challenged the way that their mind works in this phase. And it really dug in deep into some of the core issues behind why they may have been struggling or why they were having success. And it forced them to take step backs. It wasn't just, did you meet your goals? It was rate your team. Let's dig into what is it about competition we like and don't like and things like that. And the feedback is every one of my players have sent me back a message and go, oh, dude, this is freaking hard. And I'm like, well, you have 8 weeks. For the first time in their careers, they don't know when their next event is. for the first time for all of my collegiate athletes that I work with, whether they're golf, swim, tennis, baseball, basketball, it doesn't matter. We don't know. I mean, you see the blips coming out on social media. They may cancel football season.
Yeah.
They're not going to cancel football season, people. Okay, they may delay it, but the athletic departments require that income. Okay, it's not a need; it's a absolute lifeblood of institutions. So we're having to think about it as like, what are we training for? Is it? And so what I've tried to do is say, look, you've seen one of my clients, Billy Horschel. Billy has gotten very active on social media with Peloton, and the Peloton aspect of it is it's just maintaining one of the things that he wanted to do. And he came on a webinar I did on Sunday night, which is on my Catalyst website if anybody wants to watch it. He came on and shared some insights about what he's doing right now. And he's he wants to get his fitness better. He is extremely fit.
I was going to say, he's pretty fit.
He's very fit, but he wants to work on his endurance.
Okay.
And his energy capacity. So he's on the Peloton and he's challenging Rory and he's going head to head with Justin Thomas. And you can see it taking over how much he enjoys it. Like, I don't enjoy that, right? I enjoy having the opportunity to read. And so one of the things, and he said this on the webinar, I've asked him to read a book. I'm going to keep on his ass. Make sure you've read a book. He went to Florida, so it's going to be a little bit harder. But, I can give him one with pictures. But I love you, Billy. But the thing is, he's going to read something too. Billy and all my other clients, and listening to Billy in that webinar, it was such a valuable learning lesson for the junior players because he was able to dig in and say, let me tell you what I'm doing to get better. Do I think he's going to emerge from this better? Without a doubt. Okay? Because he mentally went into this time to say, this is a period of time off. It's a period that I'm going to work and invest in me. I can go out and work on a pitch shot or a swing that I don't have to worry about how am I going to tee it up in 3 days. Like, I can sit out there and test new gear and new equipment. And so it's for somebody like him, it's brilliant. And I've challenged each of my clients. I had a call with one of my other tour clients this morning, and he's made some changes. And it's a great time for us to weed the garden, to look in the garden and go, I got time. One of the things that my wife and I are doing, we're in a temporary house right now because we sold our house in August and we're in the process of building a house. It's great for the anxiety. But but we're going in it and it's like, I'm going to clean out some serious closets.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. I completely remodeled my office that I'm sitting in now, which is pretty awesome. I mean, I can never leave.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, what do we have to lose?
Yeah.
And those are the things that we look at. And it's like, do some things that you look, the way I look at it is I've been doing a lot of free stuff on webinars and going on podcasts that normally I don't have the time to do. I love doing them.
Yeah.
But why the hell wouldn't I do it now? I mean, this is the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Let's connect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if anybody, any of my friends that are on here can go over to Facebook and tell them to switch over to Instagram, that would be great. Because I don't want to, if I switch off my phone, I'm going to I think I'll lose the connection. But I know there's a couple that were looking for Facebook, and I apologize. It didn't work out.
Yep. And Brian just tweeted our Instagram. Now's a great time to look at where you are, what you want, and where you're going. 100%. If anybody watching this wants to get that, I called it the coronavirus opportunity worksheet. Me always trying to make a positive spin on it. But the fact was, this is an opportunity. It's about 10 pages, and it takes a couple days to go through with a little bit of time. Anybody wants it for their players are welcome to have it. I also did something for all the golf coaches out there. A couple months ago, I had a call from one of the golf coaches that said, what can I give away to my academies that you offer? And so if you ask me, I've got a master class that I did for golfers. It's 6 videos, I think. It's completely free. You send it to every one of your students. Let them log in. What do I want? I just want them to know who I am. I mean, if they'll follow me, it's a win. And there's probably a sales thing on the backside, but they can disregard that. But it's free. And that's what we got to do. There's so much good stuff right now.
If somebody doesn't know you right now, then they've just been sleeping for the last 5 years. Your stuff is amazing, Doc. I really think it's cutting edge, and this is great. I mean, let's dive into a little junior golf. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big questions that it was one of them that I got and one that I had for myself. And I hear you talk a lot about this on your podcast, is sort of the do's and don'ts of being a junior golf parent.
Yeah.
Like give us a little bit of structure on some of the things. Cause I am one of those. My son's now in college, but I made a lot of mistakes, as I've always talked to you about with Nick. It'd be great because I know I've seen some of my junior golf parents that have logged on, so this will be amazing for them to get this information.
So I made some mistakes too, and I was fortunate enough. My dad was a college catcher, and he was a military guy, so he was stoic, and he was, somebody who I was intimidated by, but he was really good about the way he handled. He was so far ahead of his time in the way he coached kids. He kept a spreadsheet of every inning and every start that every player had on our team. And we always had, because we moved around for the military and you move to a new town, you always have the legacy program that's got the best bats and all this other stuff, right? And so we and so I've always tried to adopt that. And when my daughters played golf, they never listened to me, and I'm not a swing coach. I know great swing coaches, and I'd get them in with people and whatever, but it wasn't until my oldest daughter probably was into her junior year she started listening, started playing great golf. My youngest one never really listened to me either, and didn't listen to me all the way through. She did not enjoy the game. And she didn't enjoy the game because of a lot of reasons. I just don't think she enjoyed the intense moment, in the heat of the moment.
Right.
It was hard for me because knowing what it takes, knowing the sacrifice of a college athlete, okay? But I also know the joy that came with that for me. I wanted to impart that. But I didn't do the things I was asking her to do when she was 16. My dad scheduled me with the best strength coach in the country. There's a guy who was based in Baton Rouge by the name of Kevin Sprecher. Kevin, I saw you on that. You just texted me. Kevin, I'll send you that thing. His name was Gail Hatch, and he's the inspiration behind a lot of the modern day strength coaches. And he was based in Baton Rouge. He trained Olympic lifters, and I went in there and went through the motions. I couldn't wait to get in and get out of there. Why should I expect my daughter to do better than what I did, right? So as parents, we got to be careful. We can give them all the information in the world, but if it doesn't match where they are, we got to be careful. So I have a couple rules for parents in general. One is, I have a rule for coaches first. Coaches, okay? Your parents are they're investing in you and the most valuable asset they have in their world, their kids, without question, okay? So if they're quick to judge, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They love their kids more than anything else. But they also love their kids to a point where they may actually choke them down. Mm-hmm. And we used to play our sports in our backyards, okay? You probably learning to play golf, you were at the club all day, you were a club rat. You probably were more of a pain in the ass to the cart girl or the girl in the grill than you were to the club pro, okay? And you probably got in trouble at the pool more. Baseball players, we played on the park. We would play in the backyards and break windows and things like that. We didn't have a private coach on our back on every swing we took. Mm-hmm. And so as parents, we have to give kids time to figure it out. Imagine teaching your kid to ride a bike and saying, push, down, up, left, right, back. That's what we're doing on the golf swing. Allow them to take some balls and say, figure out how to make it what Coach Jason is teaching you. Or put a bag in front of them, teach them how to chip over it. They can do that. Put a styrofoam cup in a hole and let them putt to it. They'll make it. Okay? As they get older, one of the biggest problems that I see with parents, and I failed these too, but I'll tell you, first of all, don't cheat, parents, okay? If your kid is sucking wind that day, let them suck wind. Don't give them a little hints on how to fix their swing. We played with a dad who was notorious for that and got banned from golf tournaments. It hurt his daughter so bad because she was a damn good player, but the dad just couldn't keep his own ego out of the way. Don't talk to your kids about how they played other than, hey, I thought you did something X really good. Okay. I hear a lot of people just say, hey, I love to watch you play. Most kids go, okay, that sounds like a box answer.
Yeah, that lasted about one time with mine.
Yeah, just say, man, I tell you what, that up and down you had on 7 was sick. Where do you want to go for lunch or dinner?
Mm-hmm.
And don't talk about it. Here's the reason. Okay, guilty, Jake. I know I'm guilty too on that.
Yes.
Here's the deal. If you and I have a very hard day at work, and I've had 9 or 10 clients I've seen, and I've grinded on them, okay? And I had to go run errands afterwards and pick up dinner, and I come home, and I've been in traffic, and I've had 2 calls, and somebody's been pissed off at me. And next thing I know, the first thing I do when I walk in the house is my wife goes, hey, why at 9:10 this morning did you make that decision with that client? Like, what are you talking about? Like, first of all, I don't even know what you're talking about. And second, you've been holding on to this for that long? Okay? So what I tell parents is when you all of a sudden get them off the green and now you're going to teach them, they're not ready to learn right now.
Yeah.
My God, no, they're not ready. You got to let that settle in their life a little bit. And you got to let them marinate a little bit more. Mm-hmm. If you're really that insightful as a parent, because you are, I'm not knocking it, you are. You can see things. Write down 1 or 2 things that you want them to learn from it. Listen, if they totally look, watching my daughters grow up and play golf, and your son was a lot better than my daughters, but my oldest daughter went into a tournament at a SJGT, who I love the SJGT crowd. Okay, it's pretty much in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Georgia, and some of Florida. Todd Thompson, who now runs the RSM Classic, just has the best culture ever by a junior golf tour. But anyway, so Logan, my oldest daughter, she goes to play a course and literally lost her swing going into the practice round and couldn't get the ball off the tee box. I mean, I don't know what happened to it. Jake, more about the beverage. Yeah, I get it. And she shot 125 the first day. Okay, this is a girl who'd shoot in the high 70s, low 80s. Wow. 125, painful.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't want to come back. Doesn't want to go back. She goes back the next day. She's on the same path, and then on the hardest par 3, she flushes a hybrid and makes a hole in 1. Okay.
Wow.
Shoots 124 that day, and SJGT's got a picture of her on their thing with her making a hole in 1. And in her room is this gorgeously framed shadow box with her golf cart. Right. So we used to say that going to watch tournaments sometimes is like watching a puppy get run over in the road. You know it's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it, and it's so heartbreaking to watch. But that's what watching junior golf is all about, okay? But what did they learn? She shot even par to win sectionals the next year, okay? So if you ask her, was it worth it, she'd say, can we take down that picture? But I'm like, no, because that shows me a girl who refused to quit. She figured it out, okay? And what people have to understand is that if we're trying to overcoach our kids, what's happening is we're leading them down a path that says failure and struggle is bad. If the first thing your kid does when they shoot an 87 on a tournament, they get their butt kicked, is that you say, let's get on the phone with Jason and let's hurry up and find a range and we're going to go work on it.
Yeah.
What you're
I get that a lot.
Okay, here's my answer to that.
Yeah.
Sit and wait and be one of the last players to leave the tournament. Because nobody really cares that you shot 87. Maybe one turd in the group does, okay, who just is one of those families. We all have them.
Right.
But for the most part, if you shoot 87, you have a bad day, you teach your kid to go, hey, go walk up to the winner. Congratulations. You played amazing. Well, dude, what happened to you? I just had a bad tournament. I don't know, but I'll show back up. And then you realize they don't even know what you shot. Right? Nobody
That's right.
cares.
Yeah.
Like, I'm blown away. Jason, you've learned from me doing a podcast. I just go. Okay.
That's okay. You're good.
It's like club championships for men. At my own course, we can't get people to sign up for it. And they'll say, well, why should I pay $100 to play in a course I'm going to play? No, it's the fact that they don't want to count every stroke.
Yeah, they don't want to compete.
They don't want to compete.
Yeah.
They want to play their money game, or they want to play their, which is fine.
Breaking them in from 3 feet.
100%. And I'll tell you a thing that we've started, which has been fun. But the thing is about that is I'll play. And there may be a month and a half that I haven't touched balls, and I'm out there. And I've shot 87, 87. I've shot 73, 74, 73. I've come in the top 5. I've been in dead last. I don't care. Don't care. Because it's a chance to compete. And I know my self-esteem, but the one that I shot 87, I think I had, in 2 days, I had 17 combined strokes on one par 4 in 2 days. Okay? I hit the same tree twice and hit me out of bounds twice. And so my 8-iron got in the way of the trunk. And it was a KBS shaft. And I come in, and my good buddy and your buddy, Mark Blackburn, is sitting in there because he's the director of instruction there.
Yep.
And he looks at my 8-iron, and he goes, "What happened?" He goes, "That doesn't look like you hit a root." I said, "No, I hit it about 4 feet high." And he's like, "I'm putting us on Instagram." I'm like, "Look, I don't really care." Like, it felt really good in the time. My wife wasn't happy. But that's what we should go out there and have a good time and compete. And as parents, if we take away the joy of the game, we're taking away. I don't want anybody to break their club. Don't send me a message on that. But I want people to understand that your kid's probably doing something you can't do.
Yeah.
And I've been at a US Open where a dad was teaching one of my players, a multiple tour winner now, okay, how to hit certain chips out of the thing. The player finally looked at him and said, "Dad, you've never played in an Open. This is my 6th. Okay?"
Yeah.
I know we mean well. Love them. Don't be the point of contention or the point of stress. The game life is hard enough as it is. Be the source of love that the kid looks outside the ropes and goes, "I got the best freaking parents to ever come to junior golf." And take other kids to dinner, take other kids to lunch, hang out, get to know them, know their parents. But I could hear my dad's whistle at the College World Series in front of 25,000 people when I was pitching. We're very attuned to what our parents say and do. We're very attuned as kids to our body languages. So if you don't think you look pissed, they know you are.
Yeah, my wife says, "Fix your face" when I'm out. Yeah. Like the hard part is, like, I don't want to cut you off there, but when I'm the swing coach and the dad, like, I had a very difficult time separating those two. And we've talked about this before, but it's cool to share some of the stuff you told me about. And that was one of the main things. Was after the round, I wanted to be the coach so bad. I wanted to know about every shot, and that was a huge mistake. I mean, sometimes it took him a day before I finally learned I got to let him come to me to talk about whatever, the round, the shot, and he would, but I usually didn't wait that long, and it really hurt our relationship, as both sides.
Yeah. My youngest one, I would be leaving to go because by the time she was in school, I was a lot more prevalent on the PGA Tour. So I would stick around for her tournaments, and I'd rush out near the end to catch a flight out. I learned from my parents, you just don't ever miss events if you can. And my dad used to drive. He'd do an 12-hour shift, and you drive 7 hours, see me pitch, drive right back, do the next shift. And my mom would stay with me. And so, but I would stick around, and I would be like, "Hey, before I leave, I want to tell you," and she'd look at me and say, "You're violating your rules." And I'm like, "I know." But it wasn't until I backed off. And with my oldest one, who is very in tune to, she's like me, she has a little bit of the anxiety. She's a little bit more socially aware of things. And she would look at me outside the ropes or whatever they were in junior golf, and she'd go, "What's the matter?" Like, "Nothing." There probably was something the matter. I was probably ticked that she missed.
Can't hide it.
Can't hide it. But I learned, eat sunflower seeds. Okay, it increases your jawline.
I don't need.
Wear my glasses and put in headphones.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one you told me was like you listen to podcasts while you're, and I did that too, and it was almost like he's like, "Do you not care?" I almost went to the other side.
Yeah, and so, but here's the other thing too. It's like college coaches. I think there's some college coaches on the Instagram Live. Here's the thing. And it fires me up. So I'm just gonna out you guys that are college coaches. Players kicking butt. Okay, you get a notice from your assistant coach that they're 3 under through 9, and you're parked on the 13th hole, which is a tricky par 3. They get to you, they're 3 under, they're playing great, and then they say, "I think you need to hit an 8-iron." Nowhere in the day have you been clubbing them.
Yeah,
and you don't know that maybe that they've actually been hitting choke down 6-irons all day. They just figured out something, and they're grinding and they're playing, and so. It's a coach and a player's responsibility to sit down and say, "Hey, what are we doing, and how do you want me to communicate with you?" Right. Okay. Parents need to do the same thing with their kids.
Yeah, that's a great
How
comment.
do you want me to communicate with you? Do you want me to get you food? If I hand you water, that probably means you haven't had anything to drink in 7 holes. Okay? So don't get mad at me. But it's those types of things where it's like, look, do you want me to be behind you or in front of you? I've got a tour player who we had to have a conversation with the dad, and we said, do not go running up to the green before an approach shot. He said, the player's like, I can find him every time, and that becomes my target.
Oh, geez.
And he's like, I want you a half a group behind me. So when I go out on tour, my players probably laugh at me because they probably don't care. But at Thursday of Sawgrass, I am usually a half a group behind, and I'm off to the side watching from a distance. I don't want them to think they got to do something different because I'm there, or they have to be aware of like, okay, now wait, get my pre-shot squared away, or don't get angry at my caddy. And that's the same thing with parents.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it took me and Nick to figure out the solution of where I should stand when I watch him play till like his junior year, because I always wanted to be at the tee box or right behind him because I wanted to watch his golf swing. I wanted to be the coach, right? When I should have been the dad. And finally he goes, hey, let's try something different. We're in an AJGA, and he goes, won't you go up ahead and like at the landing area or at the green when I'm hitting so I don't see your face after I hit a bad shot. I go, perfect. All you have to do is tell me that, right? But they're probably afraid to tell their parents because they're afraid they're going to get upset. And after that, he really played much better, and it made sense. I'm like, cool. I just want you to do well.
Yeah. And, all I wanted after I got done pitching, and I'll tell you this. So the sentimental the monumental moment that happened to me when I was pitching at LSU was a very hard moment where I got taken out of the game and got challenged. And I didn't respond. And if you read the Mindside Manifesto, you'll find it. But what happened was I came in after the game, and I went and saw my dad, and I was so pissed off. And he was standing there, and he goes, hey, why'd you get taken out? I'm like, yeah, no kidding. And he goes, well, then don't walk the batter.
Like you did it intentionally.
Well, no. What he was saying, that was what Coach told me, is don't walk this hitter.
Oh, gotcha.
So he goes, then don't walk him. Like, my dad was so brilliant because it hurt him that I was taken out. But what he was saying was, Coach told you what to do. Okay? So in other words, you got to get better. He didn't tell me how to get better. He could. But what he was saying was, you got to focus on what's the most important thing right now. You can have your emotion, and you can have your pride, or you can have the solution. See, he was able to separate it out and say, the solution is what Coach told you is what you need to do to throw more. Okay? What your son told you, what Nick told you was, hey, look, go ahead. That was the solution to a whole lot of problems.
Yeah, it really was.
And he just clarified it. Just go ahead. Yeah,
it's great. So, that's really good. So I'm going to try to figure out how to phrase. This is from me, by the way. This is like from one of my students that is a world-class player. He's 11, and he is a great kid. And this was more for his parents and for me, like sort of trying to figure out the path and like how hard to push the kids. So it's like when a kid is an elite player and he's won a bunch of golf tournaments and he starts to get more notoriety and people are telling him that he's great, is that a problem, right? Because I think I'm probably not explaining this very well, but I'm actually reading a text here that I wanted to sort of draw upon. What I guess the question is like, what's the line between telling the kid that you're great? Because that's what I do with all my kids. I'm like, look, hey, you're the best. I want to always leave them after the lesson. They probably get tired of me saying it. I'm like, hey, you're the best. Be the best version of you. Like, do your best. And where I guess the parents are probably a little bit worried about him getting too much notoriety and it affecting his work ethic. Like, how do you handle that?
Well, the game is going to do that to him naturally. Okay. If he's 11 or 12, he hasn't been playing with the kids that are coming from other sports yet, who are dropping out of baseball because they went out after baseball practice one day and realized they have a swing speed that's just off the charts. Okay. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
Well, what if I tell you this kid is, he's the best player on his baseball team.
He's
the best player on his basketball team. He's like an incredible athlete.
We've got one of those.
Yeah.
And
so
this kid is,
he's top 5 in the world.
Yeah.
In his age group.
And so what's going to happen is the only thing I would focus on is not as him getting a big head. So in the Suckville mentality where players start losing their minds figuratively is that when they first learn to play, they play for themselves. Then what happens is over time, as they keep playing, they start playing for somebody else or something else, or some value, some status, some ranking point, some scholarship. And what happens is the currency exchange of what they're playing for and what they think they should get out of it starts to sour. So then over time, then you get so lost you end up in Suckville. For him, the game will humble him, but teach him to be humbled towards the game. Mm-hmm. The game is a blessing. The game is a puzzle. Right now you have the opportunity, but there's a lot of really, really great players who other people bypassed. Okay? So can his hunger be internal, not external? Can his hunger be about how he can get better, not better in relation to the field? Because while he's better, he's not playing every great 11-year-old yet because we don't know who some of them are yet. Mm-hmm. And we also don't know, and I use an example, and this is not knocking them in any way, it's just reality. So if we took a look at the University of Alabama golf team 6 years ago, that golf team had Bobby Wyatt, Corey Whitsitt, Justin Thomas, Tom Lovelady, Trey Mullinax, and so on. Everybody said, no, surefire, Justin, okay, but surefire, Bobby and Corey too. But who are the ones that have had more time on tours? Trey Mullinax and Tom Lovelady and some other things there. So Corey Whitsitt was a surefire can't miss, 2-time U.S. Junior Am champ. Okay, Bobby Wyatt, one of the best players I've ever seen. Okay, does that mean that they lost their game? No. Does that mean that the game passed? No. But the game is hard. And somebody asked me the other day, is like, what do you think's going on with the Spieths? And they're hitting their struggle stage.
Right.
Okay? He's going to work through it. Justin Thomas hasn't hit it yet. Okay, he will.
Yeah, he almost had his sort of early on, don't you think? Like when Jordan was winning, like he wasn't really the guy, and now he's sort of surpassed.
Yeah. I think Koepka is going through a little struggle right now. Okay, I think the break will be wonderful for him. Mm-hmm. The game will slow down and his knee will. Okay, but we all struggle. Struggle is inevitable, and so I think it's a tough question because Brian Pate asked a question here. How do you try to bring the players' expectations into reality based on their skill without deflating their ego? And it's tough. So you've got to balance that. So even for your elite kid, what are the things that we did well today when we competed against the puzzle, the challenge, the obstacle course? It's not, the scoreboard doesn't matter because you can't physically impact the other people. You can intimidate them, but that's it. Okay? You're not going head to head against somebody. You're doing time trials. That's golf course is. Okay? Yeah. So you've got to see and compete against what you have that day. Where did you struggle, and what are the things that you're going to have to do to get better? Until that time happens, the only way that we can be successful is until we get to a spot where we are more comfortable in our skin, you can say, competing against ourselves and trying to see what's the best that I can get into.
Yeah, and I think the parents are just a little bit worried about him getting burnt out and that type of thing. And I tell them they're the greatest too. They're the greatest junior golf parents I think I've ever dealt with. They just want to keep it fun for the kid. And I said, let me do the job of being a little more tough on him. And he's a great kid. We're sort of looking ahead.
Good.
I just want to make sure we don't, make the wrong moves with him. And that's very,
and there may
very
be
helpful.
A summer that he wants to take off. And the other things that I would say is, everybody wants to rip on specialization. Okay. So I had a former teammate of mine, a guy by the name of Paul Bird, who played a long time in the major leagues. He's now a announcer for the Atlanta Braves. His wife and I were talking at a reunion one day, and she's awesome. And Kim comes up and she sits down and says, and their son played at Clemson and at LSU, and said, "Hey, what do you think about this specialization?" She's like, "Every time I turn it on Facebook, I'm getting ripped for taking my kids to practice 6 days a week in private lessons." And I said, "Well, she said, if they were in the choir or stage, we wouldn't say anything about it, would we?" And I went, "You're pretty accurate about that."
Good, yeah.
Okay. She goes, "If it wasn't for Paul's parents, we wouldn't have the life we have." as a 15-year major league career. Okay. And so what do you do for a kid? Like, if somebody told me I had to play less baseball growing up, I would have been like, why am I being punished? I wanted to be at the ballpark all the time. Okay. There's a young kid right now at our club who lives at the golf course. He walks to the course. He's there. I can tell you right now, I don't think his parents have to find his way there.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a kid like that, let them run. If you have a kid who doesn't enjoy it, talk to them about what the demands are to live up to what other people are committing to if they're a team. But if they're individuals and they don't play well, then the point comes down to, well, do you think there's a way you could play better?
Yeah.
Until they see practice as their idea. But for this kid, if he loves it and he enjoys it, he plays money.
Yeah. He's playing with all the older kids. I mean, he's out there every day. It's like you got to hold him back. That's not it. Yeah. We're just afraid of him. You know, his parents are just being cautious, which I understand.
Well,
I went through the same thing with Nick, and he's way better than Nick ever was at that age.
Here's the deal. When they go on road trips for golf, go sightsee while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make fun around it so that the game isn't the only fun. So, you know, one of the things that we did when we went to a tournament one time, we were in Greenville, South Carolina. Well, I don't know if you've ever been to Greenville, but the dining there is incredible.
Yes.
So my daughter got to pick out. She wanted to pick out the restaurant she wanted to go to. She researched. I mean, that's what she enjoyed. So make it their idea and fun to go there. But a lot of those kids, their most fun day is the practice day of the tournament because they're hanging out all day. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. That's cool. Do we have any other questions on?
No, that's it on Instagram Live. Any other questions on Instagram Live?
Yeah, and I've got a couple that were sent in that we can go to, and some of them sort of overlap a little bit. So the first one was from Charles Sanderson Woods, my buddy from the UK.
Yeah.
If your goal is to be a tour player and you're a junior golfer, that's why I want to ask this, 'cause it goes right along with junior golf. What would be an appropriate mindset or plan of action?
All right, say it again. I was reading Brian's question.
So it's if your goal.
I'm gonna come back to your question, Brian. I'm gonna come back to it.
Basically, it's if you're a junior golfer, and most junior golfers that are pretty good want to be a tour player. What would be an appropriate mindset and plan of action? I'm just reading.
Okay. First thing first. If they're juniors, learn to win where they are. Graham McDowell and I had a long conversation about this, and it was the fact that you got to learn to win where you are. So many college kids want to come out and turn pro so fast, but they haven't learned how to win where they are yet. And they're leveraging talent per se. And the other thing too is I'd work with them on the easy things. We were walking the fairway one day, and one of my players and another guy were talking about it, and he's like, "Look, I mean, if kids could just clean up the 4-footers, if they could just get the ball up and down in front of a green without having to hit a flop shot, and just if they could belly a wedge and handle the simple stuff."
Yeah.
Okay. If they could hit a fairway. Yes, I know their swing speed is 1,000 plus and they've got all this, everything is perfect. Can they get a ball in play when it is under the gun? Do they have a fairway finder? Okay, so those are the skills that are important. It's kind of like in baseball. One of the best things, I mean, I could have a kid who throws 99 miles an hour, but if he doesn't have mound sense, we've lost our mind. Okay. There's a concept we used to call how to win awareness, which is what golfers need to have, which is how to win awareness, which is, listen, Jason, you've probably played a day or two where something just didn't feel right in your swing.
Sure.
Okay. Like I had a new driver sent to me, and the kick doesn't feel right. It usually takes me a little while to get used to the kick. And even at my age, I still have a lot of speed and I still hit it away. And we were playing last week and I had a really good round, and I won't say I bellied it, but I just I naturally am down on my driver, but I just took a divot with my driver through 18 holes because it went straight as an arrow.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll work on getting the kick. I'm not feeling the shaft in this driver, but with everything closed, I can't really make an adjustment besides going back to my old one. And once I've already pissed that one off, I can't go back to it. Okay. So I'm playing with this one, and I like the feel of the club head. I just can't get the kick right. And I've been messing with the settings a little bit, but I can make it work. I'll make it work. But how to win awareness is, look, sometimes you just got to make a little adjustment to get it done, or you notice that ball's flying a little bit further and I want to always be below the hole and making an adjustment. teaching them that is important because
Yeah.
that goes into what Brian asked. Brian asked, it's hard when students expect to shoot a score better than their average when their handicap's a lot higher. That's delusional. Okay, and that's hope.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is say, look, I'm not afraid to have the conversation. I'm not afraid to talk about the 17th hole at Sawgrass in a practice round. I'm not afraid because people are already thinking it. There's only a couple things that I don't bring up. I don't talk about missing cuts because it's a statistical phenomenon. It's going to happen. So I don't have to have a plan for when it doesn't. I tell all my players in between, if you miss a cut, I'm not calling you. Like, I'm not babysitting you. Okay, you need to work through your emotions on it and then get back to work, and then we'll talk on Sunday. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, because more than likely when they win, I usually don't hear anything for a couple days. So if you're not going to call me for a couple days after you win, then I'm not going to call you right after you, unless they call me and they want to talk about something specific that happened. So what I often do is say, look, your average for a junior, your average right now is a 79. Okay, in competition. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's just what it is. It's a neutral score. It's a 79. You want to shoot a 73. That's the statistical improbability. Okay? Now, you may have a one day where that happens, but there are indicators that are keeping you from shooting that low score under pressure. So what are the things that we have to do? And I think it's important that we, understand and level set to them and say 79 isn't good or bad. It's just where you are right now. Mm-hmm. I was a 4 ERA pitcher or a 5 ERA pitcher until I figured stuff out. You could tell, coach would say, I can't pitch you. You're a 5 ERA. And I'd be like, well, I'll be better under competition. No, you're not. Okay. Yeah. That is an average of what you're giving up. If that's your average. Okay. So it's like when players in colleges are like, I don't understand why coach won't take a chance on me for the 5th roll. It's like, well, you shot 81 in qualifying. Like, why do you think you're going to get better in a competition?
Yeah.
If you want to guarantee in college that you're going to qualify, win the damn qualifier. I don't know a coach that doesn't play the player that wins the qualifier. Okay. And I had a funny story with a really elite college coach. He called me. He had the job for 2 years. He was building a new program. Young kid. They're coming down the stretch in the spring, young kid, walk-on kid, nice kid, going to be a great financial advisor someday in life, wins the qualifier. And he's like, I got to take him. So he takes him. Kid, top 5s. Kid automatically into the next one. But the kid wins the next qualifier too, by the way.
Okay.
Coach calls me and goes, shit, what do I do? And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, I got conference coming up. This kid, that golf course is going to eat this kid's lunch. And I'm like, maybe. But I said, Coach, you set up rules. The kid's meeting them.
Yeah.
The kid top 5s again.
Wow.
So now he guess what? He's into conference. And the potential kid ain't making it. Kid top 10 at conference. Okay. Sometimes
just never know.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Had a question here from Brian again. Does bad technique make mental blocks or issues, or does fear thoughts make bad motion patterns, or chicken or egg? How about all the above? And I think the thing that we always have to understand is the thing that we never do is we never get to the core of the issue. As coaches and as people, don't be in such a hurry to fix a problem that we miss what the real problem is. When people come in, they're telling you what they want you to see, and they're telling you where the most emotion is attached to it. But they're also hiding something else. Okay? They're hiding that they aren't confident in an area or they're concerned in an area. Once you can identify what the target issue is, then you can come up with a solution and a plan that they can do. Once you solve that problem, then you can move on to other things. But if you go to the other things before you solve their underlying problem. So I had a patient of mine that came to see me one day who had the clearest cut obsessive compulsive disorder in training that I've ever seen. And true obsessive compulsive disorder is not like perfectionism. It is like you can't step on cracks and you can't get the obsessive thoughts out of your mind, or unless you do the compulsive behaviors. Sometimes they don't do that. Hand washing, which right now seems logical. But, those are the people who would bathe in bleach. Okay. So you've got hardcore, absolutely clear obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm like pumped. I'm like, oh, there it is. Good to see it. Patient was really depressed. So I come out and I talk to my advisors. So I was in graduate school. I come back out. I tell the patient, listen, got it. You've got an obsessive compulsive disorder. We're going to attack these. And she never came back. And the reason she never came back, my advisor sat down with me and said, you really F that up, but that's a learning for you. She didn't come into you to see you because she had obsessive compulsive disorder. She came to see you because she was depressed and not sleeping. Okay? You got so excited about seeing something underneath that you really wanted. Okay? Sometimes we have to go with what they're telling us and really work with that.
Yeah, we do that a lot as swing coaches. I'm positive we do that a lot,
Look, I'll tell you, I mean, I the first top 100 lesson I ever had was with a guy, and he comes in and I've got a strong grip. I always have. My hands are huge. I like to feel it in my fingers, okay? But the strong grip allows me to. But when I take the club back, I'll make that baseball arc where my right elbow gets a little whippy. Baseball players don't play the game with their elbow tucked. So in space, I can feel my hand. I can't feel my elbow. And he starts teaching me how to hit with a towel under my right arm. So I start doing all this stuff. And I'll hit my wedge 150, 155 smooth. Okay? I'm 6'5". It goes. Okay? I couldn't hit my 6-iron 150 yards.
Oh, gosh.
And I had a weak little fade.
Yeah.
And I was watching golf one day, and I'm watching on TV, and I see, and I'm like, none of their guys are like right here. They're all out here. Mm-hmm. So that was the last lesson I ever took with that coach. So when I went and saw my buddy Blackburn, I said, look, you're not changing my grip, and you're not changing my stance. I've got an artificial left hip. I can't get to my left side before I had my surgery. So I said, I've just naturally narrowed my stance, but it allows me to find bottom. He goes, well, bloody, why would I ever change that? He said, from just in front and just past the ball, you're brilliant. He said, but with that strong grip and that stance, the mistake is the ball's going to go back, and your body, because you're fat, is going to get ahead of you. And he goes, those are the two mistakes we're going to work on. But I'm not changing those other things, and I know you're not going to lose weight, so you're still fat. You're right.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so the second part of that question that Charles has actually asked another question. He's a CSW golf there. But how important is self-talk? And this is a question that I had because do you know Trevor Moad?
Yeah.
Moad? Yeah, it's like new performance coach. This kind of, yeah. So I heard him on a podcast, and he was talking about the importance of not verbalizing negative thoughts. Like he's working with football players. And what's your thoughts on that? Is that true, important, and how do you get people or your players to have positive self-talk?
Trevor's a great guy. He's been involved with the Alabama football program, not anymore, but great guy. His viewpoint I love is called neutral thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. What he's really saying is when you have a negative thought, don't entertain it. Bring it back to neutral. Okay. You can't control thought. Thought is nothing more than a threat detection system in the human body. Okay. So if you think about it like a radar, under pressure, you're telling the body is interpreting the increased arousal that you have from your brain going, ooh, something's up. Okay. That's why when people say you shouldn't be nervous on the first tee, it's like, well, there's no chance. Okay. So what happens is the mind goes, ooh, we got a little hyper arousal going on right now. What's wrong? And it starts scanning the environment. Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to scan the internal and external environment. If it can't find anything external, it goes, oh, there's a lot of people here watching. And then it's going to go right to the internal. Just don't screw this up. Don't make this mistake. Okay. So once it identifies the threat area, it just starts inviting more and more of those thoughts in. It goes, we got an issue here. It would be like if you were sitting at dinner and you thought you saw somebody pulling out a gun. You're not going to go, whatever. You're going to all of a sudden look for the exit. Then you're going to start trying to focus on what that person did. You're going to look for a bulge in their back pocket. You're going to be looking for everything. And you're not going to be able to pay attention to the person that's in front of you. Okay? So thought, what you have to do is do some reality testing and acceptance, which is, no shit, I don't want to hit it in the water right. Okay. What do I want to do? In other words, you acknowledge it. Yeah, like, I hope that guy doesn't have a gun. Does he? Let me make sure.
Okay.
Because the mind isn't going to be able to ignore that. The mind is not going to have a positive thought coming down the stretch. It's not.
Yeah. I think his point, though, is just the verbalizing it, like actually saying it out loud. Is that something that you talk to your players about? Yeah. It's okay to say something negative and then just acknowledge it and then make it a positive?
Yep. Correct. I don't want them to go, God, don't have that thought. That was a bad thought. Because what did you just tell it? That's a bad thing. And what does the mind do? It pulls more in, more in. So what happens is I'd rather you just acknowledge it. Like if we use sawgrass as an example. Yeah, I don't want to hit it in the water. Okay, what do we want to do? And then you start like building. So there's a little bit more to thought, right? And I wrote about it in the game plan, which is called the champ and the chump. And the champ is this idea is your positive self-belief and all the other stuff. The chump is always on our shoulder. It's always telling us things we're bad at. And there are times that the chump is good. Gets you up in the morning, gets you working out, gets you training, it makes you focus a little bit better. So I think we have to look at it just a little bit better and go, okay, negative thoughts, they're not personal. The brain's doing its job. I may have periods of time where I have more thought than other, but that's okay. That's okay.
I like it. All right, Brandon Roby asked, how do you mentally and physically get prepared to play in a golf tournament? It's a pretty broad question, but I mean, I'm sure you've got some good nuggets there.
You know, it's up to the individual personality of the player, but I want them to understand that every golf course that they're going to play, every golf round they're going to play. You know, golfers are crazy. Golfers think that the next round is going to be the best round they've ever played. Okay? Every other sport looks at it and goes, ooh, tomorrow's going to be a challenge. Like, I'm going to play in the morning at 8. Okay? We're going to socially distance, don't worry. But the thing is, my mind naturally goes, oh, it's going to be gorgeous. I hope I have a great day. Now, if I was pitching tomorrow, I'd be going, ooh, man, Auburn baseball is really, really good. 3, 4, 5 hitters are going to be really difficult. It's going to be hard to get a pitch on the inside part of the plate on them. I'm going to have to work on an away crowd. I'm going to have – you see the difference in my –
Yeah. You're acknowledging the possible outcomes.
Yeah, come on, man. I mean, I've been hitting a lot of pitch shots in my office, and I'm feeling great. I'm going to probably chip one in tomorrow. That's what golfers do. Okay.
Yeah.
What I want golfers to do to go into a round of golf is tomorrow's going to be tough. I don't know what obstacle is going to get thrown in my way. I don't know what struggle is going to be out there. How am I going to handle it? Am I prepared for that? Can I find my best today? Not be my best today. Can I find the best that I have available to me today? I may not have 100% of my stuff. So, you know, I think the thing is that as golfers, we have to know, are we prepared? But what are we prepared for? I don't know. I know that I've got tools, and I know that I can identify challenges, and I know I can go out there and give it everything I got, and I know that there's a chance I'm going to play well and there's a chance I'm not. But how many times are we really happy when we walk off the golf course?
Very rarely.
Cut off there. Yeah, we all got cut off.
Yeah. Oh, we're cut off?
No, we worked.
Oh, yeah. I just saw, Charles is back on. It's like everybody's coming back on. That's good.
Yep.
Must be good.
So,
Looks like it.
Yeah. So I think what I want people to look at is, and this is a terrible example, but it is one that's important to think about. Okay. If you look at going into combat, and I'm not a military person, my dad was, but if they're going, they know that there's going to be casualties. It doesn't mean it's okay. I know I'm going to hit bad shots. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I just think, oh, they have an hour limit. Okay, that'll work. Thanks, Brian.
That might have been, yeah.
It's so funny. We were playing last weekend, and we're playing a wolf game. We were playing a 4-ball match or whatever, and a lot of jawing and talking with my buddies. And I'm sitting in prime position on this one hole. I rinse it. I mean, so stupid. I rinse it. Not even. I mean, like, God Almighty, what a stupid shot. And leading into it, I had the chipping yips about 2 years ago, until one of my players gave me the Orange Whip wedge trainer. And I figured it out. I'm a big fan of Orange Whip. And as this season was starting off, I started laying sod again. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I was chipping and pitching in my office a little bit. And I'm like, oop. I threw the Orange Whip in my bag last Friday and went out to the golf course. And I'm like, I'm going to get in the wet grass. I'm going to figure it out. That's how I taught myself how to get out of it. I found wet, shredded wheat Bermuda, and I figured out how to pitch and chip. And I went back and so what did I do on that 14th hole? I went, well, I'm going to drop it by the hole. What happens if I make it? And I dunked it. It was a perfect chip. I mean, if it didn't go in, it was going to be 2 inches past the hole. It was an absolutely perfect chip. Here's the deal. You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to hit potholes. How do you manage it? And for some reason in golf, we have sold this story that it's perfect. It's this magic romantic journey. It's not. It's freaking hard.
It is. And that was actually a good follow up because Brandon asked, "What steps do you take if the plan needs to change?" It's like it's cool to hear your perspective because you come at it from a baseball player, which it sounds like the difference between baseball players or other sports and golf is you guys are a little more you're not afraid to fail, right? I mean, I think that's the huge difference, and that's the hard thing with golf and going back to our kids and the kids that we're coaching is you've got to let them suck, right? Or they're not going to learn. And I like the fact that you went and just figured it out, right? You dug it out of the dirt, and you didn't go, oh gosh, I suck, I'm going to quit. You keep showing up.
Well, in baseball, what happens is as a pitcher, you have flat ground. Okay, so you go in the outfield and you work on throwing pitches, right? Well, if I've got a new changeup that I'm feeling, I'm not going to break that thing out in the ninth inning on a 3-2 count. I mean, give me a break, okay? It's going to take a lot of repetitions for me to own it, okay? Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing in golf, right? I mean, if you put me in the bunker, say get the ball out, and I think Peter Arnott and Graham McDowell, the two instructors in Europe, have done a great job with this with constraints-based learning, which I love their stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
It's like figure out your way. And I think as coaches, I had a coach this year. We were working on something. It wasn't in golf. And this player kept coming back to me going, oh, my God, they're killing me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, my God, they're killing me. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, every time I do what they're telling me to do, 2 reps later, they're on me again. I'm working so hard to try to change a motor pattern and work. Like I'm going to royally screw up the next couple shots. Okay? But I'm going to get it. But when coach is on me, on every mistake I hit, I can't stay with it. And so I had to tell the coach, she has to have 10 reps before you say another word. Yeah, but I see the problem. I said, give him time. Give him time. Robbie asked a question. So I've been plagued with the chipping yips for years. Practice great, on course great. Competition score involved. I implode. What would you say is the best way around it? Robbie, the number one problem with yips is embarrassment. You have an underlying physical problem that is manifested by embarrassment. Yeah. So I'd say don't care. But how about this? You got to be willing to sit in the shit for a little bit. Okay? If you hit a bad shot, you just got to own it. And when you quickly realize if you don't rush through it, when your mind automatically goes to not making a mistake, you just sit there for a minute. Take a couple deep breaths. Most people with the yips go so fast that they're in constant it's like somebody who's afraid to speak gives a speech that's so fast they can't wait to get off the stage.
Trying to get it over with.
Get it over with. Yeah. Just sit in it for a little bit. I swear to you, that will help.
I've found there's been a couple, like again, if we really, I'm real careful to throw around that word yip because, that's a neurological function or dysfunction a lot of times. Most people that I think they have the yips, it's mostly a technique issue. It's like you got to make sure that you're 100% sure your technique is sound. Just because when you're doing it on practice doesn't mean that you can fake it a little bit sometimes depending on the surface. So I would really go find somebody to make sure that you know exactly that it's not a technique issue.
Yeah, my answer to that is it's always a technique issue. Yeah. That was okay until it wasn't okay. Meaning you were okay with it until all of a sudden you got embarrassed and now it's over. And so, you got to, what I did with the Orange Whip wedge trainer, I swear to you, my technique, if you looked at it, I play the club off my right foot. I'm right-handed. I may move the ball up for just a little bit, but the club is ground or in my mind is going to hit at my right foot. And I drop my left foot back. I choke down. I neutralize my grip. But I can hit it out of a trash can if you want me to. I figured out what worked for me.
Yeah,
is it ideal? Yeah. No, I don't know. The mistake that I make is my shoulders get tilted. So as long as I keep my left shoulder square, that's what it feels like. Mm-hmm. I don't have any bailout. I don't know if that's right, but it's the same way as that when somebody taught me how to throw a slider, they said you hold it this way, and so they would pitch it so that the horseshoe of the thing goes like this, and you put your fingers there. I couldn't stand that because I could feel it spin off. But if I held it opposite, it was like giving me extra grips, and I could just rop it on for me. I mean, I could grip it so good. It was like, I guess the best equivalent is like the rippage of a brand new wedge or the brand new ball. I mean, but I threw the traditional slider to righties, but I threw the backdoor one backwards because I could throw it more down. Just play with it, make it work. Don't be afraid to. My experience is players that are struggling are afraid to trial and error.
Yes,
trial and error.
Yeah. And I say, Robbie, feel free to send me a video, man. I'll be happy to give you my 2 cents on technique.
Yeah.
To see, if it's something that my guess is there's something in the technique that's keeping you from taking it to the golf course.
Yeah. And for me, it was funny. I had one of my best players that I play with, brilliant short game. His swing is really funky, but it works. But his short game is just phenomenal for a 5 handicap. Okay. But he used to always tease me, and we're really close friends, so he could tease me. He's like, God, I used to turn away every time you got over a chip. He goes, I was looking for ankles that were going to get crushed. And he said, now you're really good at what you like. And it's just the confidence, right? It's just what I do.
Sure.
Transitioning from an outdoor range to an indoor facility. Indoor facilities are not outdoor ranges. I mean, we can't pretend that they are the same. What you need to do is if you're hitting balls into a net or hitting balls into a simulator is realize you're hitting balls into a net or hitting balls into a simulator. I don't really believe the simulators are 100% accurate. They're not going to react the same way. They're really good. If somebody wants to send me a simulator to me to try it out, that's fine. I'm happy to. But I think that, if you're playing on a indoor mat, play it like a game and have fun with it. If you're on an indoor net, work on your technique and your, the way you step into it and things like that. But your feedback's not the same as seeing it outdoor. Your mind knows it's not the same. We don't have simulators built well enough like they do flight simulators because those are fully immersive. They will really feel that. So, I think you just got to kind of look at those two things.
Yeah, Robert Campbell asks, does having a swing thought on a hole take a player's focus away on the strategy of playing the hole?
No.
And I was going to say that. What's your thoughts on swing thoughts? I mean, for me, I think it's like I'm not a big fan of the no thought golf swing.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on swing thoughts?
Whoever tried to get people to have no thoughts they're probably out of business now. Okay, and there was a whole fire a while ago about don't think. It takes more effort to not think. Okay. Your mind is an active processing system, okay? It is thinking. It is an active machine. The fact that you're supposed to be calm on the golf course is a bunch of crap. The fact that you're supposed to not think about anything is a bunch of crap. And Ben Hogan didn't hit 10,000 balls a day. So if golf could get away from those myths, we could be a lot better, okay? Tiger Woods is emotional on the golf course. I mean, my God. Players are emotional. So what? I've worked with John Rahm for 3.5 years. He's number 2 or 3 in the world.
What are you telling him? How do you handle that?
Go kick everyone's ass. I mean, just don't be disrespectful to the game, and he's never is. But, we've talked about some things. I mean, he's also 24.
Right.
I mean,
young.
He's young, but he gets frustrated. He gets frustrated because he knows he can't. He can do what he's upset about, and he knows he's good.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at that kind of stuff, it's like, be who you are. Just don't disrespect the game, your family, your maker. Don't be a distraction to the people in your group. Okay, we have a bigger issue with slow play than we do anger. People are going to have a swing thought, and I'd love if you do your practice right. You know what your one is all the time, but we forget it. One that really works for me is if I just feel like I'm turning my left shoulder. Okay, if I get caught up in where my hands are in my backswing, I'm screwed. Okay. That I will forget that. I will not remember that. But tour players have swing thoughts, and there's different areas where the swing thought works, and then there's other areas where it doesn't. But that's why a tour player wins 80% of their money in 5 events a year. They're not great 100% of the time. There is no consistency in golf. It's an inconsistent game. It's like the weather.
Can you say that really, really loud so everybody can hear?
There's no consistency in golf.
I love that. Thank you.
Like I said, it's the weather. Your game is like a climate, not like the weather. The weather is what it is today. Okay? The climate is the overall that's built with multiple days of weather. So when somebody says, well, what's the weather in Birmingham, Alabama? I'd say, well, the Birmingham, Alabama weather right today is 85 degrees and it's perfect. Since December 1st, at my builder's house, we've had 50 inches of rain. 50. We had a drought over the summer. And we've had 50. So still today, we broke ground on my house December 1st. It is March 27th. They still haven't laid the foundation. Okay? So if I was only looking at today, I'd say, God, this is a deluge place. Rains 3 to 5 inches every 4 days. Well, that's what it's been doing since December 1st.
That's awesome. So how important is journaling and reflecting to remember those swing thoughts or to write things down that you've worked on so you can refer back to them and reflect on in future practice sessions or tournaments?
Well, I think journaling is critical because if you're not journaling, then the only emotional mark that you're getting, the only assessment that you're getting is the emotional feeling in the moment. If the only assessment you have is how you feel in the moment, you're never going to think you're very good. But if as a player, you can look and say, man, I got my butt kicked today, or I kicked its butt today. But look at the journal and go, well, I kicked its butt today because I've had 8 weeks in a row of really, really solid play. Well, why wouldn't you be confident? Like, that's really good. Mm-hmm. So, and I think it's just important that we capture that and we know the things that we do well, the things that we're not doing well, and we're willing to take an analysis of our stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Doug asked, college athletes are now using live scoring on their phones. While doing so, they're checking their social media. How do you feel that may impact their performance?
Wow, that's a great question. That's a question I would like to know too.
Yeah, I mean, when I was playing baseball, we were looking up in the stands. I mean, we were watching scores of other games. We were watching the hoo-ha, the funny thing that was being done and the hoop and hollering that was up in the stands. I mean, focus is not your ability to sustain focus for 5.5 hours. It's impossible. But it is, I think, important that as a player, you can get back in the focus thing. If checking social media is causing a break in your focus, I would ask you, is it that important that you need to check it? Okay? And so it comes back to a player. But more than likely, if they're out playing with their friends in a cart, they're checking their social media the whole time anyways.
I was going to say that if they're conditioned, I hate it. Like when I play with my son, and I think he's on here right now. He can chime in, but I'm always getting on him. Like, how are you going to focus on the next shot if you just were on Snapchat or whatever, and then you just put it down and you hit a shot? Like, I guess if he can get back into that moment,
and get back in, that's fine.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge.
It's hard because what's happening is it's just creating more disruption. It's more clutter. It's more chaos in the system. But if they're worried about what's on their phone, if they're having an argument with their boyfriend or their girlfriend, then that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Social media, let's be honest, besides impending bad weather or an immediate threat, there is no value in social media. And I'm on it all the time. It sits up on my computer desk nonstop, where we make a living. I use it for news. I like that. But practicing with headphones on instead of hearing the contact, every other sport takes, Charles, every other sport that I know practices with music on. Batting practice, everything. If you need to hear the contact, that's fine. But, I'd rather somebody stay out there longer because they're listening to Guns N' Roses than leaving because they can't focus. Most people can't focus for a couple seconds at a time. I write 100% of the things I write with music in my ears. If I'm going to write a presentation, I'm going to write it with music in my ears. I don't know if I know the songs that are being played, but I do know that it allows me to focus off of something. So, I was a guy originally, in the golf carts when people had music, I didn't like it because I didn't like it when I was on the fairway and I could hear another group's thing.
Yeah.
But my group now, we have, 2 or 3 carts that are going. Tomorrow we'll have 5 carts for a fivesome. We'll have 5 different musics going on in the golf carts. Yeah,
you kind of just adapt, right? I'm kind of the same way, yeah.
Yeah, and they make fun of me because I like to listen to Guns N' Roses and Pearl Jam and Disturbed and stuff like that. And every once in a while I'll put on Eric Church for a while. It depends on the flow that I'm in the round. I don't care. You listen to AC/DC. I can calm down with that. I can calm down with that. As my wife runs with Jack Johnson. She's like, it makes me think I'm running on the beach. I'm like, all right, that works. So my thing is figure out what works for you.
That's great.
If you take out a sensory, you lose the feedback. It depends on what feedback you're looking to see. So I think the thing is, the feedback is if I'm hitting it flush and I want to see myself hitting it good, then that's all that matters. Most people don't have an intention with the practice drill. They're just doing practice to do it. Like 60 reps of hitting this shot is going to make me better. No, you can do it 3 times with intention and get a lot better.
Give us that putting drill that you always give your players. I think is fantastic. You've shared it with us at the Aim Point Summits for pressure.
Well, there's 2 that I've been using. One is called the Gamer. If people email me, I'll send it to them. It's a 3, 6, and 9 foot drill across the 4 axes, northeast, south, and west. And each station you hit 3 putts. The first, the 3 footers all count for a point. 6 footers are 2, 9 footers are 3. The goal is 42 or 54 points. 54 means you dominated it. 42 means it's good enough. Okay, that's a great drill. The other drill that I've done, which seems to be really OMD Golf said practices for feel, if that's what your intention is. Some people practice for other reasons. The other drill is 8 stations around the hole, all from 5 feet. So it's north, northeast, east, south, whatever. And you hit 3 balls from each of those stations. But if any miss, you go back to the beginning. So you got to make 24 in a row. And the reason is that to me, the 5 foot putting is the first place where it breaks down statistically and mentally. And we have a game that we play in our group. So if you're playing a 4-ball and we're playing trash, okay. So, you're playing polies and sandies and all the other stuff. It's got to keep it fun. We allow you to make cumulative birdies. So if you have 5 birdies, your 5th birdie is worth 5. Okay. It should be bonus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we do the same thing for 3 putts. So your first 3 putt for you personally is 1. Your 5th one is 5. And you're 0 in the field 5. And so instead of doing snake or something like that, and it is, and we don't give anything now. Nothing. One is we're not touching the all the other stuff, but really you got put out. And it's become fun. And so we call them whipped creams because it's whipped cream on shit. But but the idea is that you got to have a bonus and you got to have a restriction. Do you do the 3 in a row or jump around to randomize it? I start them off with 3 in a row.
From the same spot, right? Yeah.
From the same spot.
Yeah.
But Faxon and I were talking about it one day, and he said, "Ooh, to make it hard, just go random." I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
Gosh.
Yeah, nobody would ever finish it. The average completion time of that one is about an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh.
So if you want to make it hard, go for it. But it's just a matter of, I usually tell most players stop at an hour. Put headphones in, stop at an hour. But Brian Harmon, one of my clients, the first time he did it, he texts me, hey boss, what's the average completion time of that drill? I said about an hour and 6 minutes. He goes, did it in 38 minutes.
Whoa.
So he's like, but he's one of the best putters in the world. And he uses that as a way of saying, like, I do something you can't do.
Build confidence.
100%.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I'm out of questions. Any topics that you wanted to talk about, or?
No, I think this is a time for coaches to do a couple things. One is right now we have to endure. But during this endurance time, it's also a time for us to evaluate the way we do things. If you're not teaching a whole lot and you're sitting back, do some learning, do some studying, develop your philosophy, write it down, work on it. Okay. Number 2 is also be there for your students. Your students love the game that you coach. You love the game that you play. Don't be afraid to reach out to your instructors, to the people that you teach, your students. Talk to them about this time. Some of them take lessons because they enjoy the camaraderie. They need a friend. Invite them onto teleconferences and webinars. I did 2 webinars, one for coaches and one for players. They're available on the website, thecatalyst.school.com/podcast. If people just reach out to me, I'll send them to wherever they need to. You can DM me or email me or whatever. I'll get it to you. But don't miss it. There's thousands of minutes of free podcast on the Catalyst School with coaches from all over the world, and videos, and the webinars are on there. They're completely free. Look, we have so much free technology today that we don't have to stay isolated. People are going to emerge from this better. They're going to emerge from this. Some people are going to emerge hurt, bruised, and angry and broke. Okay, I know that. That scares the crap out of me. I'm sure it scares the crap out of everybody else. I know, country clubs are going to worry about revenue. They're losing heavy revenue right now, and there's going to be a lot of sacrifices that have to be made. But build, just like OMD said, build those relationships, because under hard times they want to know who's there for them. Your juniors that are out there that lost college seasons, get them ready for the summer. We don't know what the summer schedule is going to be.
Right.
There's no chance the U.S. Amateur is going to be when we think it's going to be. I just don't. Where's it supposed to be this year? Where's the AM?
Good question. I'm not sure.
I mean, I think we can assume that. I think we should prepare for it as live.
Yeah.
But be prepared for it to be delayed. I mean,
For sure.
I think you're probably going to see 3 majors or 4 majors in the fall. I think it's realistic.
Masters is probably going to happen in the fall, it sounds like.
Yeah. Charles had a question: is how does my new podcast and website going to fit into your existing work and sharing of content? Nothing. I had somebody ask me, do I still work for the Mind Side? The Mind Side's me. It's the focus. So in full disclosure, what happened was I went out and spent an afternoon with Jeff Smith out in Vegas, and we're both not very skinny, so we ended up at a all-you-can-eat sushi joint that was just incredible. So Radar and I and Bhrett in my office, the other guy that works for me is named Bhrett, and Jeff said, "Hey, I just got a suggestion for you." He said, "Love your content." He said, "Can you create more coaching content?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." He goes, "I feel like a lot of your materials for the end user, and we as golf coaches are having to adjust to it. But if you just did a whole lot of stuff direct," he said, your coaches, and Bhrett goes, "Well, that's why the coaches call you all the time." And what I do a lot is I'll have, the gymnastics coach or how do I coach this player better? What are the, even though I'm working with them individually, I do more work for you as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I've always had as a passion of mine was coaches. And so the catalyst is based on the fact that we are all catalysts for other people's success. And if I can give you the right tools, so we're going to launch after this BS crap virus shit's over, we're going to launch a masterclass, but we're also going to launch what's called Catalyst Live, which is going to be weekly live webinars. It'll be under $20 a month. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
It's going to be live webinars where we're going to dive into the psychology of what you can be as a coach, as a teacher, as a leader, as a manager. So, Charles, it's not changing. What we're doing is, if it's a coaching-based thing, it's going to go. It's going to go on the same podcast. Some will hold back to run on the Catalyst Live for a little while and then put it out on the regular. But you're going to see a lot more dedication towards coaching of what are really coaches going through. What are we struggling with? If that's something you're interested in, let me know. Give me a thumbs up, because the feedback we've had is that there's a lot of people who are interested in it. Yeah. You can go to thecatalyst.school.com and sign up. You're not signing up to pay anything right now. You're just signing up for your name for information. I would highly recommend you to do that, because you'll get a whole bunch of free resources. We're going to have a lot of PDFs, a lot of white papers. Bhrett in my office worked at Alabama for 5 years in leadership development. His master's is in leadership and coaching development. So he was an all-SEC catcher at Ole Miss. So this is a passion between the two of us. Hey, Charles, go to thecatalyst.school.com. I know you have an internet over there in Europe.
Oh, yeah. He's on it. He'll be all right.
Yeah, you guys go on the catalystschool.com and sign up.
That's great.
It'll get you on that. And if you go, there should be a link there going to be with all the podcasts that we've done and new ones. I just did a podcast today with a coach who's won 4 straight championships in the NCAA in their conferences. And there's so much overlap that we can utilize. And this is the time right now as coaches. I've always wondered, and I told Michael Breed this, I've told everybody, I said, look, I don't understand why the Teaching and Coaching Summit doesn't bring in coaches. What's up, Nick? Doesn't bring in other coaches from other sports to learn from. And I don't understand why when I go to a baseball conference, they don't bring in a football coach. Well, you know what? I'm going to solve that problem. I'm going to bring you as a golf coach, basketball coaches. I'm going to bring basketball coaches, football coaches. I'm going to bring football coaches, golf coaches. Because I'm going to be, my goal is to be the resource that when somebody says, I have an issue on what I can do to help somebody coach better, and I want to reach this kid, I want to reach this player. You come on the webinar and you've got either my information or you've got live information to say, hey, got a 16-year-old kid whose parents are divorced, who, gets really resistant every time they talk, that I give them feedback. Well, I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's a way. So, I think there's some things that we can do here, and I'm excited. But the only way it's going to work is if you guys all seriously go to thecatalyst.school.com. And if you didn't go to an SEC school, it's CATALYST, catalystschool.com, and you'll be able to sign up, please, because Bhrett in the office, we have a competition, and I told him I could get a whole bunch of people to sign up on their just their email.
There you go.
And I think I can. So,
all right, you got one more question to answer before we jump off here. Thank you so much for doing this. This is fantastic, and for everybody out there that's logged on, you can tell the people that missed it. We're doing a podcast. it's gonna be on mine. It's gonna be on Doc's as well. But if you had to get one message to the world and put it on a billboard, what would that message be and why?
One message. First of all, James Ridger joining us. I love in his ladder.
He always comes in there at the last,
At the last minute. That's awesome.
James.
If I could put something on the billboard, you are stronger than any storm you face if you're willing to face the storm. Ride the waves that you have. And we question ourselves all the time, but my God, are we the most powerful, inspirational, and endurance-based people there is? And I think, as Mel Robbins, who's a great motivational speaker out of Boston, says, you're 100 for 100 on facing the worst days of your life so far. There's no evidence that tells me that you can't do it again. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned. I've spent the last 2 years really diving in and spending some time with Ryan Holiday, and his work has really impacted me and changed me.
Obstacle is the way. Highly recommend it. Yeah.
If you go to thecatalyst.school.com/podcast, you'll have the podcast that we did with Ryan there. But it's so cool because what his stuff is teaching in the Stoicism is, listen, there's no storm that you can't meet if you're willing to identify what the problem is and figure out that you have the skills, or you can face it somehow. So let's keep working on it.
That's great.
It's really
So give everybody that maybe just joined that website again, and any other platforms that you want them to follow you on.
Right now, just go to thecatalyst.school.com. It's CATALYST school.com. And you can navigate around that, and you can find me at BhrettMcCabe.com or themindsight.com, whatever, or social media. But the Catalyst School, sign up. You'll get a lot of information. Not obligated to pay anything. We're not charging anything right now. I just want to give people listen, coaches have been the greatest reason that I'm in the position I'm in today. And, I think all of us are in this place because we're a helper and a healer, and we have a life that we want to make people better. So I think if we use that to be a catalyst and light the spark for somebody else, we can change somebody's life and let them see where it's going. So thecatalyst.school.com. But there you got it. See?
There he is. Sharp.
There it is.
Thanks, buddy.
Catalystschool.com.
You're the best.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all be good.